live at 5:30 or 5 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, and of course at 5 the Evil Hippie Network YouTube. We're still working on some of the others right now with the technical difficulties. What a day! On top of the proposal to end the 61 cent a gallon gas tax is far from ridiculous. LA Superintendent Alberto Calavaro, however the hell you say that, got served with subpoenas at his home and LA Unified School District, where he is El Superintendente. Man, there's a lot of things coming out. That guy was a piece of work when he was in Miami. Comes out to LA, of course. I believe he was hired because he is part of the overall crime syndicate that is what's now called public education. Man, it's something else. We'll cover the State of the Union address, which I think was one of Trump's best all-around speeches and deliveries he's ever given, even though it was the longest. People weren't catcalling it like when Bill Clinton did the longest one. 30 years ago, and they were damn near booing him off the stage. I think, and most people agree, Trump did a very good job on that. We'll get into that in a bit, but of course, lead story of the day, and the 61 cent gas tax grab. Lawmakers shout, dump the pain at the pump. Just stuff it up Newsom's ass. 2, i.e. lawmakers Jeff Gonzalez from down in the Coachella Valley and Leticia Castillo put a proposal out, AB 1745, to suspend the 61 cent a gallon gas tax. Tony Gonzalez from down there in Huntington Beach, he's a state senator. He's going one further. He's not only saying that, repeal it plus some other taxes, which would save us over $1 a gallon. This is far too long. This should have been done eons ago. We got to get our act together. We'll run, let's see if we can get the ABC7 report on this. And we'll have some more comments. Here we go. Hopefully.
California has long been a sore spot for many drivers.
But this plan to bring the costs down, at least temporarily, will likely face resistance in Sacramento. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Guanda.
Who the hell is going to resist 61 cents a gallon, which is ridiculous? That would only cut about less than a third of the taxes that are on gas in California. It's about $2 a gallon. It's a little over $2 a gallon we're paying. When you really figure it out, nobody besides myself has really laid out the true cost. They're getting about, you take, a good rule of thumb is you take $5 a gallon, the government, mostly the state of California, is collecting half, $2.50. Maybe slightly less, but that's a pretty close approximation. Let's go more with the ABC 7 report.
Prices in the country, often $1 or more per gallon above the national average.
I think it's $1 more than it should be.
I think the state of California is doing a fabulous job of pricing out poor people from personal ownership of transportation.
This gentleman, both of them, first, we are $1.50 over the average. The average is less than $3. We're around $4.50 and rising. And the second gentleman is precisely, it's more than $1 a gallon. It's about $2 a gallon, higher than it should be. Second gentleman is exactly right. We're pricing middle and lower, especially income people, out of being able to afford to own and operate a motor vehicle. This gentleman's 100% right.
And while families are tightening their belts, Sacramento continues to ask them for more.
Industry experts say several factors are driving the spike, including refinery outages and closures that have reduced in-state fuel production. Some Republican lawmakers say the state should act to give drivers temporary relief.
That's why AB 1745 suspends the 61-cent state gas tax for 1 year. This bill will pause the state gas tax immediately, require that full savings be passed directly onto the consumers.
We should suspend it, period.
Now, this guy's on it. We should suspend it, period. We flat know we've been getting ripped off. We're collecting more taxes and getting less roads. We're paying 3 times as much for less than half the service. Again, Pat Brown, Ronald Reagan built the finest highway system in the world through the 60s and early 70s, financed only on the gas tax. No bonds, no other taxes. Now we're spending god-awful amounts and getting nothing. We're getting 2 feet of track and a bullet train when that would have paid for a freeway from San Francisco to L.A.
Oh, so you want to suspend all gas taxes?
Yeah. Let the federal government step in and get the prices down. Newsom said he was going to get the prices down. He didn't do it.
I think it might not be a bad idea for 1 year. And then we'll just have to pay for it at the other end, huh?
No, we won't. Maybe we'll produce the reforms so sadly needed in the state of California, all across the board. And we won't be getting ripped off by politicos and government employees and all on that have been profiting royally at our expense and to the detriment of you, your kids, and grandkids' future.
Tight restrictions, the state has lost multiple refining facilities in recent years, and a Valero refinery in Northern California is shutting down in the next few weeks. For drivers, the impact is immediate and costly.
I've been dealing with it for 46 years, so.
But too often.
Now, the 46, I can beat you by almost 20 on that. This stuff is absolutely ridiculous. As the price chart shows, we're paying almost 50% more for a gallon of gasoline, all in extra taxes, for some of the worst maintained, most costly, stupid, idiotic policies on roads and everything else. Here's Leticia Castillo, Assembly District 58, Riverside, Corona, Eastvale. Here we go.
Solutions like this get blocked before they even have a chance to get informed, before you even have a chance to get informed and make your voices heard.
So we know the rats will not do this. This is all why you should be working harder to make the Roy plan work. Steve and Chad in the top 2. And I got friends on both sides of the Steve and Chad thing. I'm comfortable with either one. But even if you're a Chad supporter and don't necessarily think Steve is red hot, that's the only person Chad can beat, and vice versa. The only person Chad can beat, or Steve can beat, is Chad. Because if there's a D behind any other name and Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton in the other slot, the D is going to win. That could be Betty Yee. That could be that heinous sex rapist that just got let out of prison. It doesn't matter. They're going to win 60-40. They have. Chad is not going to wave a magic wand, or Steve or anything else, and win a one-on-one race against any Democrat. So if you want this stuff to stop here, if you want this to stop, the first thing is get on the Roy plan. We're going to split the vote evenly between Steve and Chad and then hold the 7, 10, or however many more dwarfs are going to run on the Democratic Party. we got a shot to do this. And that will decimate them. That will tune down the low propensity Democratic voter. And then we will put some of these assembly races and Senate races, school board races, and everything in between in play. And we will have a chance to pull this off. More from the ABC 7 report.
Now, back in September, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that he claimed at the time would stabilize gas prices. So far, the governor and legislative leaders have been resistant to suspending the gas tax. Reporting live from Glendale, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7.
Of course, he's not going to suspend. He does. Gavin Newsom could give a rip about California at this point. He's done. He's running for president. California can do nothing no longer for him. He thinks it's a lock in the Electoral College in 28, which it may be. I don't know, depending on how this 26 thing goes. That might not be such a deal. But we're on the precipice with all of this. Don't screw around down in Texas. They've been trying to take that and turn Texas blue for a long time. They've turned it purple. And the energy coming out, again, is on the Democratic side on the early voting coming in. So don't take anything for granted. People, like I said, people are in the pissed off mode. And they're just going to, they are showing, you don't get it done, we don't care. We're going to, if it takes electing Trump in 24 or Mandami in 25, that should, look at the reality of the situation, not what you think or what you hope or what you're, this is what is actually happening. Play the game to win. That's what Democrats do. That's what the left does. That's what the kook left does. That's why they've been able to hijack. Everybody says, no. They're willing to go out there and work. They're willing to do the treachery, dirty work, strategy, whatever it takes to win. Because they know if you don't win, it doesn't mean anything. You could be standing next to Jesus Christ. You can pray at the altar or do anything, but that just doesn't change the reality of the situation. Here it is. We're over 50%. You want to stop this? Over 50%. National average, 2.93 per gallon. This from Jeff Gonzalez posting. California 460 and rising because we're closing the refineries. The only way this stops is if you get your ass in gear and start paying a hell of a lot more attention and then get out there and work your behind off like you've never done in a political campaign before. Because the other side darn well is going to do that. Guaranteed. The Trump State of the Union speech last night. I will say that may be his best overall performance that he has done. Again, longest, he went 140 a year ago, hour and 40 minutes. He went 148 last night. But unlike when Bill Clinton rattled off, 30-some years ago, and people were booing, catcalling him off the stage. Even the other side, well, the few honest ones that even if they don't like Trump, they said that was a hell of a performance. It was well choreographed. He talked a few minutes. They brought in the hockey team, another hero that saved this, a mom that lost her child to illegal aliens. And it was for, it wasn't, he didn't get off script, he didn't stray, he didn't wander. They kept enough things going, boom, boom, boom. And he delivered them masterfully. This is the one. This is the moment. And this was right towards the beginning. That Trump put his political enemies and the haters of America back on their heels. Here we go.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle.
Challenge.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support.
Oh, listen.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Wow. I've never seen this. Wow.
So there's a couple young guys, as you see, that we're doing that, and I wanted to show their reaction because it's all, the young men and women and everybody in under 45 are abandoning Trump. And this is the DJ Daniel moment of 2025. The little boy, and he's not dead. Like the internet stuff's been going around. He's still very alive and vibrant. Where they introduced little DJ who wanted to become a Secret Service agent, law enforcement agent, and they brought him in, and the Democrats wouldn't stand for a young man who had brain, spinal cancer, was fighting it, and they did it again. Would you support lawful Americans or illegal aliens? And look, everyone, I think, but Fetterman and a couple Democrats were sitting, not applauding. Absolutely incredible. What traitors to their country and fellow countrymen could you have?
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Finish your drink.
What?
It's all you because you just saw the godforsaken demons that they are.
So there you see the young guys again, and they're right. You see them for the godforsaken demons they are.
That smile says it all. I knew it. Those sons of bitches.
Call them out for it. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That set the tone for the rest of the hour and 40 minutes. Right there. And as the man said, that smile, that smirky smile, Trump knew. He knew he had won the debate. He was shaping the narrative. He who shapes the narrative wins 98.7% of the time. Royism 101. He knew he had it. That was one of many clips we're going to play. Here's the second. Absolute masterful stroke of genius. It was the Trump State of the Union speech last night. Here we go.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
There it is. The gold medal hockey team making the grand entrance. And the Rats had to stand for this one. They didn't want to make that mistake. A few of them did, as Trump will acknowledge. Of course, the chants of USA broke out all across the hall, or at least on the Republican side. We are winners. That's what we fight for. And that's what politics is all about. If you don't win, it's all for naught. None of this mamby-pamby crap or this no participation trophies. More of the USA chant.
But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
Another masterful stroke from Donald J. Trump. And it was very fitting while they blew it on the illegal alien ones. Again, last year, remember this, the Democrats didn't stand for young DJ Daniel, the young man with brain and spinal cancer who was given his Secret Service card and in his Secret Service uniform. And they wouldn't acknowledge that, and they wouldn't acknowledge the American people. How hard-hearted can you be? It's really amazing sometimes what we had. The other point I want to get to is the fraud and Omar shouting, and this is Trump at his finest. Not only did he not let it affect them, he jammed it right back in her face.
Comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight...
Did you see that little glance over at Omar, who was the one that's shouting in the background? But watch out, Gavin Newsom. We just seen it with Carvalho. The USD superintendent, LA schools, has just been raided, house raided. By FBI agents this morning. Carvalho, which came to us from Miami under a cloud of corruption, $1.5 million for some sort of, oh, we're going to have online school and this and that. Oh, if you give Carvalho $1.5 million in his foundation, how much money did he or his family members or his associates get out of the foundation? And then it just, oh, poof, it was gone. Didn't work. Then he off to LA, he quits, and Florida's kind of said, well, now they're busting his rear end here in Los Angeles. And it's about time. It's about time we cleaned up all this crap. Got rid of them. Ousted them. No moss. No more.
40 seconds.
We're not having it anymore. There's the LA4 report. FBI searches home and office of LA Superintendent Alberto Calavero. We're getting some more information. We'll have more on that tomorrow. As Jesse said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met 1490 AM here in a few seconds. Hopefully we'll have Susan Shelley on today. It's been one heck of a...
10 seconds, and Susan's on the line.
Well, something went right today.
Up to date. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky side guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live, 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Join our vast video audience on EVA-B Network. YouTube, we're still working on X and Rumble and some of the tech stuff on that. But what a day. State of the Union speech, Trump, maybe his best ever performance, knocked it out of the park. LAUSD School District Superintendent Alberto Calavaro's home and offices at the other crime syndicate school district were raided. Maybe that's what Trump was talking about, this whole fraud thing coming up in California. Maybe we'll talk to Susan a little bit on that too. The proposal by Jeff Gonzalez and Leticia Castillo, i.e. assembly members who said let's suspend the 61 cents a gallon gas tax, AB 1745, and much, much more we covered in the first hour. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have the famed editorial writer, columnist for Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts, more important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to iNewsWire, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
First update, I know you had, before we get into all the subjects of that, give us an update. I think you turned the signatures in for the Save Prop 13. Give us an update.
Very exciting. Yes, today was the last day that we could turn in signatures for the Save Prop 13 initiative, and I'm very excited.
Did we lose Susan? Right at the good number. Man,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There, I got you back. You cut off just as you were telling us the number of the signatures you got, but go ahead. I think
1.3 million signatures.
1.3 million? You got 1.3 million? Well, then you should be over the 70% threshold where they have to do a spot check.
I think so. The way that it works is we have to hit 110% of the minimum required signatures with validity in order to. So that's, let me see, that's like 936,000 or some number like that, and then if we turn in 1.3 million and we need to come up with let's call it 960,000 signatures, so we need a validity rate of about 75%, and we should be good. So I think it's going to happen.
I think yes. I'm very confident at 1.3. Unless if this doesn't happen, then it's going to be another one of these skullduggeries beyond all get-go repair of coming up. But that's some absolute fabulous news. We look forward now to having both voter ID, which I know you participated with Carl DeMaio, and I think he helped you out on your campaign a little bit too. You guys kind of both worked together to get them both on there. So hopefully, preliminary congrats to both of you for making the effort to get it on. I'm very confident now we'll be on the ballot on that. So I want to touch on first, I think Trump, that may be his finest. His State of the Union speech might have been his finest delivery ever. He didn't stray off a topic like Trump can do. He really didn't pick up any or get any of those catch gotcha phrases that people could turn around on him or try to do that. And when Omar tried mouthing off and stuff, he threw it back at them. And then the way they delivered it, asking about the American citizens versus the illegal aliens. Then 5 minutes later, bringing in the hockey team. Then somebody, a mom who had their child killed by illegal alien, and on and on and on. But it went flowing, and even though it was the longest speech, in my mind, this wasn't like, what was it, 30 years ago when Clinton went on, and people were calling for the hook and that. I've even heard people that, we know are looking for anything to pick on Donald Trump, and they're saying, man, that was a real, they're praising what Trump did for his delivery. But what say you, Susan?
Well, I think he is the most brilliant television producer we have ever had in public office. He absolutely knows what the audience is seeing. He's thinking all the time about how that video is going to look. He is a performer and a producer. And I don't say that in a way to demean him in any way, but that is so important because instead of just doing the laundry list State of the Union, where every department in the government wrote one paragraph and they all give you their things to do list for the rest of the term, instead of that, this was like an exercise in videotaping the Democrats taking terrible positions that they can't defend. Like, for instance, saying that they do not think it's the government's job to protect American citizens over illegal aliens. That was remarkable. And it went on, and Trump just used this exquisite Jack Benny kind of timing to just watch them and do these takes. It was just incredible video that is going to be used in the midterm elections to great advantage. So I think if you think of the whole thing as a television commercial for the midterms, it was brilliantly done.
111% agree on that one. Because, again, the delivery, the timing, the production, everything, like I say, from his crew to him. And again, as Trump can do, I mean, he strays off the reservation a lot and ad-libs. He stuck, I'll get it out, stuck to the script or the general outline of that. He didn't, in fact, like I said, he didn't let Omar or anyone else bother him. In fact, he threw it right back at them and didn't flinch and didn't get into a tussle, tug of war like he usually, or like he's prone to do of that. No, he just threw it back them with the emphasis of the facts of the case. And I think that was what, to me, was very powerful, Susan.
I agree with you. It was all very powerful. And some of the media coverage is always interesting to watch. I saw a headline from NBC News that said Trump was not chastened by his low approval ratings. What kind of a headline is that? What kind of a way is that to describe the State of the Union address? We thought he would just be crying and cowering because he has low approval ratings in our poll. Really? It was just so strange. They're missing one of the greatest presidencies in American history. And I have to say that having George Washington's gavel on the speaker's desk, I thought was just a remarkable thing. This is such a delight, this 250th anniversary celebration. It occurred to me that we very rarely see true patriotism in peacetime. You always see it if there's a war. You always have the patriotic music and the red, white, and blue and the troops. But to have it in peacetime, to celebrate George Washington and to celebrate individual liberty and the Declaration of Independence in peacetime is so delightful. We don't have to only put the flag out when somebody flies a plane into a building and we're at war. We can celebrate the United States all the time. And that is a new thing after, 20, 30 years of this, America's the worst thing ever, and Western civilization's terrible, and everybody else is superior to us. This is so refreshing and so important, I think, and just great for the country.
Switching topics, something that broke this morning, LA school superintendent Alberto Calavaro's house and offices at LAUSD, the other crime syndicate, which I'm determining all public school systems, or practically all of them, have evolved into crime syndicates. But they raided his house. He came from Miami under shaky circumstances, clouded in financial, questionable dealings of that. That seems to be what the impetus of that is. Trump mentioned we're coming after not only Minnesota, but California and the fraud, again, in the State of the Union speech. What's the latest you hear on this whole deal of the raids at LAUSD, Susan Shelley?
I have not been able to find anybody who would comment on the substance. I don't know anything about the facts of what they're investigating. I was looking for it. The most interesting thing I saw was a report from Channel 7 News in Los Angeles that said they were talking to neighbors, and several neighbors saw someone put into handcuffs. And they were trying to find out if it was the superintendent. They don't know. That was, I thought, remarkable, because it wasn't just a search warrant. If that's the case, perhaps it was an arrest. He couldn't be reached for comment. That's consistent with being arrested, so who knows what's going on. I understand there was also a raid in Miami. It doesn't appear that this has anything to do with immigration policy or anything like that. It seems to be something that, some sort of corruption that they're looking into, and we will see. Eventually they'll unseal the search warrant and we'll all find out what's going on, but we don't know yet.
I would say that's probably the biggest guess. With all this, once the fraud domino has dropped and it's starting to hit, I think 26 is going to be very interesting, and I hope Trump capitalizes on this momentum from the State of the Union speech and picks this up, and they really, it's fine to talk about this in the investigations. We now want to see indictments, trials, and incarceration on this stuff. And I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, I sense it's not so much right, left, Democrat, Republican. People are frustrated, and I think that's why you see them go from a Trump in 24 to Mondami in 25. They're saying, hey, if you're not getting it done, we're going to just switch it up. We don't care. And I think if Trump plays his cards right with these investigations and fraud and really ramps it up in 26, I think we can really, really, really start dismantling a lot of this, Susan Shelley.
Well, I hope so. But every time I look into it, I have to say, it's always legal. It's amazing how much corrupt activity, pay to play, and sliding money from this committee to that committee, and creating new committees to run for offices in 2032 that you're never going to run for, and loading those up with money, and spending money out of them on luxury items. How is it possible this is all legal? But it is. There was a sentencing today or yesterday for Omar Navarro, who ran for Congress against Maxine Waters several times, and would routinely raise $1 million with direct mail just trashing Maxine Waters. And he's going to prison, I think, for 4 years for essentially stealing the money. It's so difficult to break the law when you look at what the law allows. He must not be very bright, because there are so many ways. They set up companies that are political consultants, and then they give themselves a contract, and that's all legal, and that's what the Lincoln Project does. There are so many ways to grift in politics legally. I can't believe they ever get a conviction for breaking the law. All that stuff with the behested payments, where the governor can call people with business before the state, shake them down for a big donation to his wife's nonprofit, all legal.
Man, hopefully this stuff is going to change in 26. I hope it does. And I think if it does, I think Trump can turn not only his approval rating, but, man, you can use that and defy history, flip the midterms, put them, actually increase the Republican, and maybe we'll even get a Republican governor in the state of California. Who knows? Anything's on the table. But switching subjects again, want to get to your columns of the week. This one is really apropos. Newsom's European power trip powered by hot air, maybe one of the best titles of all time, Susan Shelley.
Well, he went to the UK and he signed an agreement, and it looked like they were doing the SALT talks with Russia. It was this big setting with the flags and the red-covered documents and all of this. What exactly did he sign? He signed a memorandum of understanding that commits nobody to anything. But he also said that he had a $1 billion investment from a British energy company into green energy companies in California. And I decided to look at what that was. And this is very concerning, because what this company does, it's called Octopus Energy. And what it does is sell software that connects up your smart devices in your home and turns off your electricity remotely on high-demand days when the grid is under stress. You get a smart thermostat. You get a smart car charger. You hook it up with this company's software, which comes to you through your utility, and they'll turn off your electricity remotely. And then they'll throw you a couple of $100 a year to do that. And I looked at that, and I thought, what is this $1 billion investment? Because this company sells things. They don't buy things. So what were they buying? Well, they were buying two companies that do the kind of work where you can sell the carbon credits from it. They reforest or they plant trees or something, and they create carbon credits that California makes these oil companies buy in order to continue to operate legally. So that's a scam. They're investing in that. And the other thing they were investing in was a solar and battery plant that for some reason isn't going to be finished until July, and I guess nobody else wanted to buy it. So the governor is out there going to Munich and London and looking for investors to buy this green technology. It's very weird because there's a trailer bill that was introduced on the Department of Finance website, and the trailer bill says that they're going to put a couple of $100 million of tax money into what is called dispatchable customer load reduction. What that means is they turn off your air conditioning and they send the electricity to somewhere else, like a data center or an industry that needs the electricity. Now, why is California doing this? It's because they have these idiotic energy policies that say we're going to run the whole state on sunshine and breezes by 2045, and we're not. So they're looking for ways to set up an infrastructure to turn off the electricity to customers on days when there isn't enough. And that I find very troubling.
1,000%. I mean, who knows how much of this fraud's going on? I mean, Trump's mentioned it, maybe with this LAUSD thing breaking and all the investigations and the whatever it is, $100 billion in fraud. I think it was what Adam Housley, the former Fox deal guy, says, or according to him, if my memory serves me right, he came in and said, the reason we got the unemployment fraud deal is, the TV and the media was, reporting on, a few people that weren't getting their, legitimate people that were, that got thrown out of work in California. They were complaining and he didn't like the bad optics. He came in and just said, approve everything. And we're sending money to Russia, China, cartels, everybody across the other 49 states and everything else. I mean, the amount, if he came in, I know what you've said is this stuff actually winds up being legal, but it shouldn't be. And there should be a way to put someone like Gavin Newsom, if he came in and said that just to prove everything, and poof, there goes 30, 50 billion freaking dollars down the freaking toilet. I mean, this whole thing is just, it's hard to wrap your head around all of this stuff, Susan.
It sure is, and I hope that when the FBI came to Los Angeles, they brought enough handcuffs for everybody. Because the city council, the county board of supervisors, the LADWP, the mayor, I think they should all be in handcuffs and, lock them up and see what they'll confess to. There must be something we can throw them in jail for. This is so disturbing, the way this whole county is being run, and the whole state as well. It's very disturbing. The cost of living goes up and up, and their solution is to raise taxes, to hand people more money so that they can cope with the high cost of living, which raises the cost of living, which creates more people who need the handouts. And we are circling the drain in this state, and it's all self-inflicted. It can all be fixed. As you said, if we had a Republican governor and new appointments to some of these boards and commissions, it would get better very fast.
And that's a good segue into your other column. And even though you're out here in the IE, you're saying, well, why do we care what LA's doing and this and that? Well, it's like California, I've said, they test pilot it here and spread it across the 49 states. In California, they test pilot a lot of this stuff in either LA or San Francisco, and then spread it out over the rest of the state. So this is why you should pay attention to Susan's other column, even though it's in LA County. Don't be fooled what you need to know about LA County's sales tax proposal, Susan Shelley.
This one, you're exactly right. This one is modeled on something that San Jose just did, that Santa Clara County just did. They have a lot of public hospitals in Santa Clara County, and they're making the argument that because of President Trump, they're not going to get enough funding to run them. okay, that's a separate argument about why the funding is being cut and eligibility and illegal immigrants and the rest of it. But what they said is we have to have a half-cent sales tax to pay for our public hospital, a little more than a half cent. It was a general tax that they put on the ballot. So it only needed a simple majority instead of two-thirds. And because it was a general tax, it can be spent on anything. So they told the voters it was going to be spent on health care. It convinced everybody to pass it because who could be without health care? We don't want the hospitals to close. They don't have to spend one penny of that money on the hospitals. And Los Angeles is copying that exactly. It's a half percent sales tax increase, takes the county to 10.25%. Many of the cities will be higher, but the county will be 10.25%. And it's 5 years because it's temporary. Of course it is. 2 years from now, they'll make it permanent. And what are they saying? They're saying, well, we're going to spend all of this on health care, and here's our detailed plan of all the things we're going to spend the money on, and it's a general tax. They can spend it on pay raises, pensions, lawsuit settlements, wallpaper, anything. And it's just an absolute con job, once again. And I hope voters will turn it down. The sales taxes are too high. It's very burdensome for people, and there doesn't seem to be any end to it.
1,000%. They're not, and I had to chuckle because I would cry and that wouldn't look good on the air. But you're right. The temporary sales tax, like in Riverside, they're trying to jack the sales tax up from 1.1. Or there's we got to extend the 1 cent sales tax, which runs out in 2036, 10 years from now. Now we're running out of money. We got to jack it up to 1.25 and then make it permanent and all this other stuff. Don't buy, please, if nothing else, don't buy that rhetoric. I wish they would just be honest about it. Say, yeah, if they're going to put it on the ballot, just say, yeah, we're putting it on there for perpetuity and until 5 years from now when we waste all that money and we're going to jack it up again is how it should be said. But man, don't get me started on that soapbox. We'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. Got about a minute left. Tell them why they should join Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Go.
It's going to be a very exciting year for taxpayers because we're going to have the Local Taxpayer Protection Act to protect Prop 13 on the ballot in November, along with voter ID, and there'll be a lot to talk about in terms of voting against these tax increases, voting for really strong taxpayer protections. There's going to be a lot going on, so you can be a member of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and be notified early about everything that's happening. Get all the information you need for the elections and for everything else that's going on in California. Go to hjta.org, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, hjta.org, and be a member for just $15 a year. And be sure to sign up for the free email alerts so that you can be informed about everything that's going on with your money in the state of California. It's a great organization fighting for you in the legislature, in the courts, and on the ballot. Be a member. Come and join us at Howard Jarvis.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Roy.
You got it. Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and columnist extraordinaire for the Southern California News Group. One thing, and you always get that nervous when Trump is speaking, because like you say, and I'm sure everybody that's been around him, worked with him, his family, and everything else do the same thing. You never know when he's going to drift down that. Like I said, I was really impressed with his delivery, timing, not letting the other side get to him, not getting down in the mud and as dirty and in, let's say, street fighting ability. Not that that isn't necessary at some times, but it was a refreshing change, and I think Trump, if he keeps this up, and I've noticed this in the last 3 or 4 months, he's been more, we're not on TV every day like he was. Not that it wasn't necessary in the first 6 months because there was a lot of stuff going on, but he's kind of backed up from that and been a little more judicious, a little more presidential, as they may say. So, and again, judging by the reactions not only of his supporters but of his critics, nobody was really criticizing like you usually, except, Susan pointed out a couple. There's a few. The absolute, I just hate Trump. It doesn't matter what he does. Wouldn't matter if God was standing to the left of him and Jesus Christ was standing to the right and the 12 apostles were behind. Wouldn't matter. They would still hate Trump. It doesn't matter. Trump derangement syndrome and all that. But I mean, the vast majority, some of the ones you would think that would be, that are usually critical of the president or stuff, were giving him high marks for that speech last night. And you're not hearing, oh, he went on for an hour and 48 minutes, the longest speech, and that's exactly what they were doing 30 years ago when Bill Clinton rambled on. And he did. I mean, Clinton was just, and Clinton's a good, one of the best public speakers out there. And he got torched over that. And but Trump actually it's almost a miracle, with the longest State of the Union speech ever. They're saying how delightful. And it didn't seem, even most people that did, it didn't seem like an hour and 48 minutes. It was crisp. The production was good. The delivery was great. The timing was spot on. There's just, like I said, that might be one of the best all around deliveries, productions, get the point across, stay on the subject that Trump has ever did. And man, it couldn't come as a moment too soon. I hope, like I said, I hope he capitalizes on it. I hope he learns the lesson. I hope we build on this. And again, I'm serious. I hope this Carvalho thing in LA is just the latest. Man, we need to see a dose of this, what happened at LAUSD. Practical. Monday through Friday. We'll give everybody the weekend off. But let's say Monday through Friday, we need one, just boom, 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 from coast to coast, from LA to New York, to Seattle, all across the nation, wherever this stuff is going on. We need to root it out, get it done, enforce our borders, make America great again, put an emphasis on winning. Like Trump did when he introduced, and that was great, talking about, we are about winning, like the U.S. hockey team, both the men's and women's. Again, Canada, you could add 2 gold medals in hockey if you would have joined the U.S. like Trump tried to get you to do, instead of throwing a hissy fit. Just got to rub it in a little bit. Oh, man, what a day. I'm sure there'll be much more fun, we'll bring it to you tomorrow like nobody's business of that. It's exciting times in Shirley. That'll do it for today, as we usually say at this time. Mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right. Have a great night.
You got it.